I'm Linda Hurtado.
And I'm Brendan McLaughlin in the Satellite Center, where all day we've been watching as the George Zimmerman murder trial draws to a close. In just the past hour, the prosecution has wrapped up their final arguments to the jury. Now, inside the courtroom, members of Trayvon Martin's family and members of George Zimmerman's family listened in. In all, the prosecution's case has lasted 22 days, with the state asking the 6 female jurors for justice. Here are just a few of the final words the jury heard from the prosecution.
A teenager is dead. He is dead through no fault of his own. He is dead because another man made assumptions. That man assumed certain things. He is dead not just because the man made those assumptions, because he acted upon those assumptions. And unfortunately, because his assumptions were wrong, Trayvon Benjamin Martin no longer walks on this earth.
He profiled him as a criminal. He assumed certain things, that Trayvon Martin was up to no good. And that is what led to his death. The law talks about accountability and responsibility for one's actions. And that's what we're asking for in this case. Hold the defendant responsible for his actions. Hold him accountable for what he did.
In the middle, you'll just...
Now, after quite a long presentation, there was a 15-minute break, after which the jury came back and heard almost another full hour of closing statements from the prosecution. That prosecutor, Bernie de Rionda, pulling at the heartstrings of the family at one point, saying that Trayvon Martin's family would no longer be able to take pictures of their son because of what the defendant did. Now, our reporter, Ryan Raich, has been the only local reporter to cover this trial from day one. We go to him live now in Sanford. Good evening, Ryan.
Yeah, the lead prosecutor on this case stared right at those 9 jurors with his last pitch. He begged them to recognize Zimmerman's lies and assumptions to see the real reason Trayvon Martin is dead.
Use your God-given common sense.
In his final emotional plea for justice, State Attorney Bernie de Rionda started to put the puzzle pieces together.
He bought Skittles and some kind of watermelon or iced tea or whatever it's called. That was his crime.
After 12 long days of witness testimony, de Rionda walked the jury back through the highlights. The key points, he says, proves George Zimmerman murdered 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, then lied about it and told another story to cover it up.
He is a criminal, and that's what criminals do. They don't want to get caught.
Zimmerman's own inconsistencies played a major role since day one of the state's case. He never took the stand, but the jury heard plenty through interviews and reenactments. Remember, the Neighborhood Watch volunteer claims he got out of the car that night not to follow Martin, but to get the name of the street to tell 911.
There's only 3 streets, and he's lived there 4 years. Again, why did he have to lie about that? Because he does not want to admit that he was following this innocent young boy.
And then the infamous screams for help. Zimmerman says it's him, but the state says it was Martin, and here's why.
Why is he able to yell if the defendant claims the victim was... How's he going to talk? Or is he lying about that?
The biggest closing arguments of this prosecutor's career focused on the emotion of this case that divided a community and the nation. Before the jury walked in, the state tried to push for a backup plan in case they find him not guilty. Defense attorney Don West almost lost it.
Just when I thought this case couldn't get any more bizarre, the state is seeking third-degree murder based on child abuse?
One other charge, manslaughter. And the defense ended up actually winning that argument. Third-degree murder will not be one of the lesser offenses that the jury will consider. Now, the defense will give its closing arguments first thing tomorrow morning, and then this case will finally go to the jury by tomorrow afternoon. Now, coming up at 6 o'clock, hear what Bernie de Rionda left with the jury at the very end of his closing arguments. That's at 6 o'clock. For now, live in Sanford, Ryan Raich, ABC Action News.